Again, I'm speaking with you. I'm not a public speaker by any means. A little shaky here, but I just want to kind of talk to you a little bit about the SCBA project that we have going on. I guess last week there was a decision made to utilize the grant money that we have, the FEMA grant, and the aid to locality money, which comes from the state of Virginia fire programs. And then hopefully in next year's budget, we will hopefully complete the project with some funds. This is a very big project. It's a lot of money. We're talking $375,000 total. I don't know what y'all have seen and what y'all haven't seen, but I feel like, and Chris has done a really good job helping us out. I feel like sometimes I'm filtered out, so I kind of wanted to come speak with y'all. That way you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. We need this. We are in dire need of SCBAs. Absolute dire need. We currently have 32 air packs, which were bought in 1992. And then we have 4 that were bought sometime in the 2000s. We have 62 carbon fiber bottles, and those have a 15-year life. 43 of those are at or beyond their life, so they can no longer be hydroed. And technically, they are not supposed to be refilled once they're used. We have some that are still serviceable that we're using on our main trucks. We have some steel bottles that you can hydro every 5 years that we've tried to use. We've done the best that we can with the cards that we're dealt. So there's a decision made that we're going to split this project up. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But I just want you to know that the liability that we're putting on our guys and the liability that's put on you, it's getting to the point where the fire department is no longer going to be able to provide the service that we provide. Whether it's interior firefighting, going into a hazardous situation where we need that breathing air, we're getting to the point where we're going to have to cease that because we no longer have the equipment that's serviceable. The air packs that we do have, they still flow test. They're so old that the parts are hard to come by if something does break down. So that's the reason why we're replacing the pack and the bottle. We're going with the new standard now. So currently the pressure, the bottle pressure and the pack pressure is 2216, so 2,216 psi. The new standard now, the lowest pressure is 4,500, and they also have a 5,500. So what that means, why I'm telling you that, what that means is we also have to upgrade our breathing air compressor to fill the bottles. We tried to get by with what we had, but the absolute max that our compressor that we currently have will put out is about 4,200 psi. So it is also very old and antiquated, but it cannot adequately fill the new bottles. So right off the bat, we have to buy that. And that cost about, between the compressor and the bottles to go on the truck so we can refill on the scene, is about $79,000. So that eats up a lot of that 165,000 that we have. So if we buy now, I'm not going to put the new packs in service because you have two different pressures, and that is very dangerous. So what I'm going to do is if we can go ahead and buy the packs we can, we're going to leave them out of service until we can secure the funds to get the rest. I don't want to put my guys in a position in the middle of the night refilling air bottles, and they think they have a newer bottle that can hold 4,500 psi, and they put an old bottle in and they send 4,500 psi into a 2,216 psi bottle, and then it goes kablooey, and you're going to deal with a death. So I'm not going to do that as chief. I hope no one would do that. So that's the position we're being put in. And like I said, if that's the way that everyone wants to go with this, that's fine. But I just want to let you know that we need to have that money as soon as possible. And if it's got to be July, that's fine. But we are in dire need of air packs. Absolute dire need.
I want to ask a couple of questions, but the $375,000 was the amount you needed to do everything. Does that include the $79,000 compressor?
That's correct. So the air packs, SCBAs and air packs are the same thing. It's a self-contained breathing apparatus. We call them air packs. It's like a little lingo. So that's the air pack, and every pack has to come with a spare bottle. And then we are also getting a face piece for every member, plus a couple for the trucks in case you have someone from mutual aid, or say you have someone coming from home or whatever that doesn't have one. We'll have a couple extras on the trucks. And then we also have a RIT pack, which is a rapid intervention. So that is a bottle and all the fittings that a RIT team can go in and save a downed fireman. We're going to put one of those on our ladder truck, which we currently have, and we also put in to buy an additional one. That way we can put on one of our engines. That way we have two in case we have a separate call, or in case, a lot of times the ladder truck doesn't go to the county. So we're going to put it on the truck that typically goes to the county. That way we always have one with us. So the air packs and what I just explained is $295,014.34. And then the air compressor with the Cascade bottles, which is enough bottles for the breathing air compressor and the Cascade system in the station. And we also carry a Cascade system, which is a bank of 3 bottles that on our utility truck. That way we can fill air bottles on scene or anywhere we go. Because a lot of times if you have a drawn out call, you just have to fill air bottles on the fly. You can't take time to go back to the firehouse and fill them and then truck them back to wherever the call is. And there's some associated costs with install and stuff like that, and that comes to $78,985.99. And this is just one quote. We also have another quote coming from a different manufacturer, but it's going to be very, very, very similar. We're talking dollars and cents difference.
How much do you all need? I mean, separate from what you're willing to put in.
We have $65,000 in federal the FEMA grant, and then we have, I think it's $104,000 in the aid to locality money. And we can probably look that up really quick, but that's pretty close.
175,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have about $170,000, and then whatever it's about about $200,000 left over. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not asking for money tonight. I just want y'all to know that this should be priority number one when it comes to FY 23 or 22 or whatever it is, to be 23. So,
Can I ask you a question? Do you have that cost broken out? Go back to where you talked about getting individual face masks. Do you have that broken out with all the things by itself?
Yeah, that's about they're $310 a piece. It's about we got 50, or we asked for 50. So it's $15,500.
And if y'all don't understand that, that means in old days when we get on the truck, when Brandon, Andrew and I, you put on a face mask, it could have been one Raymond used the last call,
Yeah.
or Tommy used the last call. This one provides that protection from a COVID type of thing.
Correct,
That mask is
correct.
there.
A lot
I'm
of,
worried about sharing the same mask that Lance used on the last call, that may or may not. We'd like to think it got clean between the two, but sometimes things happen at 3 in the morning.
yeah. We have cleaners, like I said, they do get cleaned after every call. It's a possibility one could get missed, but right now with asking for 50, like I said, we could put one in everybody's gear. You're responsible for cleaning it. We can put name tags on them. You can actually get the frame where you can put prescription eyewear in it. So in the middle of the night, you can see if you don't wear contacts. There's a lot of advantages to it. The main thing now with the times is cross contamination. So, but yeah, that is a good point, a very good point.
Being these masks are for individuals.
ARPA dollars are specifically, when you're talking about the COVID mitigation piece and this piece right here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Popovich, for PPE related purposes, because that's regular job protection in theory, it's not ARPA eligible, if that makes sense. So if they needed, KN95s and gloves and those things with the ARPA regulations, those are covered. ARPA is much more centered on infrastructure, economic recovery, and individual/business and government assistance for utilities, those types of things. It's very unfortunate. I will also say that last week was one of our first kind of discussions that we had with Chief Baker contacting Chief Smith, who serves as Public Safety Director, on some of the quotes that we received. We knew that this was going to be an expensive project. One of the main challenges we've had, for 2 years now, we've tried to obtain the FEMA funding. That the Chief has worked really hard with consultants on making sure we had just the right words and just the right needs outlined. We got about half of what we asked for. We're grateful for what we got from FEMA. However, that severely impacted our ability to plan to purchase. Secondly, the other main challenge is the cost per unit. So each unit, when you divvy out, the face mask, the breathing apparatus, it's about $10,000 a piece. Based on our city procurement policies and then even state procurement policies, we have to put it out for bid or find an existing contract that's in place, that another fire department has or state agency to be able to purchase, if that makes sense, because of the dollar value. So one of the reasons that we, and I'm sure the Chief mentioned that, is because if we have to do a tag onto an existing contract with cooperative agreement language or do a request for proposal process, that can easily be 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer, just to have it advertised, get it put together, or to tag onto a contract. So you're still looking at early spring for acquisition of even what we have in the budget. So that this, the discussion was had. Let's work on getting what we can now, and then have it ready that whatever company we work with, whether it's using a state contract or we get a proposal and execute our own contract, that come July 1, we have money in the budget. So it's just ordering more equipment, if that makes sense. So that's the rationale that we have. It's just unfortunate that we also got the award after budget planning started. So if you all remember, I believe it was mid-fall that we accepted that grant from FEMA. So it was just, I think, in October, the second meeting. So we're still trying to do our due diligence on that.
Yep.
I think it's just one of those things, just trying to make you all aware of the need. That has been a need since I've been here. However, we've also been trying to work on identifying the funding. And I think one thing that's also helping is the fire soft billing that also contributes to the Public Safety Asset Reserve Fund. Is that going to fully fix the delta? No, but we will be keeping that as a priority for public safety. And so one of the things that I asked the Chief to do yesterday was one, the Director of Public Safety, I should say, because this is Chief Baker, to meet with each director of our public safety agencies one-on-one for a budget meeting, to go through the budget, to have a group meeting with each of them to discuss public safety needs as a whole, right? Because they all work together, and it's all a big picture of how do we respond in a public safety crisis, right? And everybody has, some competing needs, but obviously this is a priority number one because of the liability, and two, because of cost, also trying to figure out, one, what is the determination of determining exactly how many of the breathing apparatuses do we need, and making sure we outline that. But it is something that I myself am aware, Chief Smith's aware of it, and we're going to be working on putting together an RFP or finding a state contract. And it's going to be a great experience for Chief Baker and for Chief Smith, because this will be something new for them because they've not dealt with, the big rules of procurement before. But Mr. Bryant will help them.
There are state contracts out there where we can basically, tag on to them and get this, because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Just like fire trucks, you can buy a fire truck almost with a stroke of a pen without even going to bid now. So, and I think the city's done that in the past with Sutphen. So
yeah, and that's one of the other challenges. There is the option of financing it, but then you also run into the challenge of you can't finance directly with one vendor. When we do any financing, we have to do a request for proposals. So it's bad timing of year, but we'll purchase what we can, and I've already directed the Director of Public Safety to find whatever funds we have to maximize, and we'll try to make up for whatever changes we need to next year, as well as making sure we have the remainder of the funds.
Cards that we're dealt. I know this has been a long process. I've been dealing with it since I've been chief, and I'm coming up on 4 years now. So, and my predecessors have been trying to get funds as well. But when you put something that's $300,000 in the budget, guess what? It gets cut out first thing. So, it is what it is. I wish we could have. Unfortunately, we got all of our packs at one time. So,
well, you brought up something I was going to ask. Have y'all started looking at this point, once we make this purchase, about the depreciation schedule for those?
That we definitely need to do that. And the big thing is the bottles. So the packs, unless they go obsolete, which is where we're at now, if they just flat out can't get parts for them, they're fine as long as they can flow test. And if they don't flow test, they just change parts or whatever. So the big thing is bottles. So carbon fiber bottles have a 15-year shelf life. There's been, ever since we bought them, we've been promised, they're going to extend that out where you can just hydro them till they go bad. Which that's how the old steel bottles used to be. But steel bottles are considerably heavier. You have to deal with firefighter fatigue, aching backs and herniated disc, which is probably where the one that I had come from. So as of right now, it's 15 years on the bottles. And I'll tell you how much each bottle costs. Each bottle costs $985.54. So if that's just a bottle, a flat out bottle. So if you replace, you split up that in 15 years, and every 5 years, say, all right, we're going to buy however many bottles. That would be a good depreciation schedule, or once a year or whatever. I say 5 years. That way you can say your most used. You can start circulating those out. Because 5 years you would have some wear and tear on them. We're unfortunately we're rough on stuff because of what we do. So there is stuff that gets physically damaged. So, but that's definitely something that we definitely need to look at in the future, so we're not in this predicament again. But it's right now with what we got, it's a perfect storm where we have to do it all because everything was purchased at one time, and our air packs, the actual pack itself, they're bad. Well, I don't say they're bad. They're getting to the point where you can't get parts for them, and they're starting to fail. And then also on top of that, we have air bottles that can't be hydroed. So it's a perfect storm where we have to do everything at one time. 10 years ago, if we would have talked about it, we would have bought bottles, and we probably wouldn't be talking about it as much. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
Appreciation skills is key.
Yeah,
You know, what we're facing right now is what somebody did in 1990 something.
yeah, 1992 is when they were the
That's
bought.
what we're facing now.
And I'm pretty sure that they got those on a grant. I think that's what Wes Walker told me, that those were bought on a grant. Unfortunately, the FEMA grant, the first year we applied, they did not award. Second year, we were denied. Third year, we got like 30% of what we asked for, or something like that. They shifted gears on equipment and went more for COVID type money that they give out, basically. Just bad timing on it all. I wish we could have got it a year ago, and we could have got it all and not even talking about this. But like I said, we're just trying to do the best that we can with what we got, and hopefully I've kind of painted a picture in your mind. That way, here in a couple months, we can say, all right, we need to put $200,000 in the fire budget because we got to get this done. So.
Thank you. I look at other council members and I see their heads going.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're here.
So I just want to come straight to y'all because I feel like, you know, everybody does a good job with communicating and everything, and I wanted y'all to hear the unfiltered version, straight from the mouth, subject matter expert. So
We appreciate it. Thank you.
thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate